Louis, you're going first. I'm sorry. You're going first.
Okay, good. Good morning. I'm Louis Chiquin, CEO of Abode Services. We're providing the social services and property management at this site. Very exciting, beautiful building to be participating in ending homelessness for 168 families with services on this site. I just wanted to welcome everyone here today. Very excited to see the plan roll out so we can roll up our sleeves and get it done. Pleased to introduce Shireen McSpadden, the Executive Director of the Department of Homelessness and, most importantly, Supportive Housing.
Thank you, Louis. So I just want to start by welcoming everyone this morning. It's wonderful to have Mayor Breed here to be in support of the rollout of our plan. I also want to recognize Supervisor Dorsey and Director of Department of Public Health, Dr. Grant Colfax, for being here, and a number of our providers. But I also really want to lift up and thank the people with lived expertise who've worked with us, our community liaisons who are here today. Their work really helped inform our plan, and I just want to thank you for teaching us and bringing us along in your world, and that's going to make this plan and the work that we do together better. So this is really an exciting day. I want to just thank you all for joining us for the rollout of Home by the Bay, an equity-driven plan to prevent and end homelessness in San Francisco. It's our city's new 5-year strategic plan. We stand here today at our newest permanent supportive housing site, which is a really great site, and we're united in our resolve to address one of our city's biggest challenges, the suffering of our unhoused neighbors in our community. We know that we must act swiftly and decisively together as a city to help the thousands of adults, families, and youth who are struggling in our community without housing. The Department of Homelessness and Supportive Housing is charged with leading the pursuit of the goals outlined in the Home by the Bay and has led the development of this plan. But achieving the Home by the Bay's vision will require the work of all of our partners, all of us together, collaborating in new and innovative ways and redressing long-standing challenges and obstacles. Most of the city departments and offices here today have critical roles to play, and their roles and activities are reflected throughout this plan. Success depends upon the work and strength of our nonprofit, community-based, and faith-based organizations active within our community, and their provision of coordinated, compassionate, and high-quality services and housing options for people experiencing or at risk of homelessness. We are here at City Gardens to highlight what is possible for people experiencing homelessness: stable, high-quality housing with supportive services on site. City Gardens exemplifies our commitment to solutions, innovative funding and program design, and quality that we want to bring to all of our work. The program at City Gardens and the strategies of the plan are grounded in 3 foundational pillars of our shared work. The first is equity and justice. Achieving racial equity and housing justice for all San Franciscans will be the leading focus within our community's efforts to prevent and end homelessness. Quality. Continuously strengthening and improving the homelessness services and response system will be prioritized so that people receive the help they need when they need it to prevent or end their experience of homelessness. And then innovation. Creativity and innovation will be encouraged and supported, and new models and practices will be assessed to determine their impact and to identify opportunities for replication and expansion. And through this implementation of the Home by the Bay plan, the city will strive toward achievement of 5 bold goals over the next 5 years. The first is to reduce the number of people who are unsheltered by 50% and reduce the number of people experiencing homelessness overall by 15%. The second is to demonstrate measurable reductions in racial inequities and other disparities in both the experience of homelessness and the outcome of city programs intended to prevent and end homelessness. And the third is to actively support at least 30,000 people to move from homelessness into supportive housing. The fourth is to ensure that at least 85% of people who would exit homelessness never experience homelessness again. And the fifth is to provide prevention services to at least 18,000 people at risk of losing their housing and becoming homeless. Together, these goals address the major areas of responsibilities and focus for the homelessness response system. Progress in the implementation of these goals will be regularly assessed and reported. And I want to also thank the members of our new Homelessness Oversight Commission who are here. One of the ways that we will be holding ourselves accountable and making our work very transparent is through our work with that commission. Achievement of these goals will bring San Francisco substantially closer to our shared vision of ending homelessness and realizing racial and housing justice in our community. In partnership with our commission, we look forward to regularly reporting on progress toward these goals and the implementation of the strategies outlined in the plan. And I want to thank the HSH staff, our partner departments, service providers, advocates, and most importantly, as I started saying in the beginning, people experiencing homelessness who contributed so much to the development of the Home by the Bay plan, and the strategies included here. I want to really thank Mayor Breed for her leadership on this issue. During the mayor's tenure, we have reduced unsheltered homelessness by 15%. We've added more than 1,000 new shelter beds. We've added 3,000 new units of long-term housing, and we've invested unprecedented resources in the issue of homelessness. We look forward to building off this success as we move forward with the implementation of the Home by the Bay plan. And now, Mayor Breed, I will turn it over to you for your remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Shireen, and thank you to Abode and all of the various people who are going to be working at City Gardens to help support many of the families that we are looking forward to welcoming to their new homes. Hello, I didn't see some of the people in the audience, so I'm like seeing some friends and folks, and thank you again. It's great to be here with Supervisor Dorsey and his district, and I gotta say, when Dan Adams on my team brought this project to my attention, I couldn't believe that it was available. And I thought to myself, we got to get a hold of this, because we know how challenging it has been to find places with enough room for families and the challenges that have existed in terms of housing overall for people, but especially for families. And so I'm really proud of the homeless acquisition. What is that team called, Shireen? The housing acquisition team, and they consist of staff from Shireen's operation as well as Dan from my office, and they were just given an award at Spur this past week for their work and their innovation around acquiring these various properties, identifying them, and putting together the necessary resources with local and state money, including Project Homekey, which San Francisco has received over $400 million in Project Homekey money from the state in order to help us purchase buildings like this. And so I really want to thank the governor, and I want to thank this incredible team. And when they gave their acceptance speech for their award, one of the members who gave the speech basically said, you would think with all of the headlines and the things that people are talking about that we're not doing anything with homelessness. And in fact, this city has been doing an incredible job. Over 9,000 people who would otherwise be on the streets providing rental assistance to keep them housed in their current situation. Over 7,000 people who have shelter, who have support, who have a safe and affordable place to call home. And some of the more permanent situations, we are at over 3,000. We set an ambitious goal back in 2019, and we exceeded that goal. But we know that people still see a number of folks who are struggling on the streets and want us to do more. And we need to do more. And in fact, we've worked tirelessly to do more. But many people think, well, you know, what happens? We have, in our last point in time count, you know, around 7,000 or so people who are homeless, below over 8,000, which it was before. Why, with such a significant decrease, hasn't there been a change? Well, there hasn't been a change because when we think about it, San Francisco is one thing, but the entire state is quite something else. And the challenges that exist around building more housing are stark. So I'm also really excited about what this 5-year plan is going to do to get bureaucracy out of the way, to get housing built. It should not take the 256 units on Mission Street from the time that lot was identified and we worked through the process with the federal government. It took almost 10 years to get that project built. And everyone in that building was formerly on the streets, 256 people that would otherwise still be living on the streets. And it should not take so long. So I'm looking forward to changes, aggressive, not incremental, aggressive changes to our housing policies. We are required under the state to build 82,000 units in the next 5 years. How are we going to do that if we keep doing things the same way? We're not going to get the results we need, and we're going to lose valuable state dollars. The over $400 million that we got through Project Homekey may not be possible if we don't get out of our own way. So this 5-year strategic plan, which really focuses on equity, is a first step in trying to make sure that, yes, we met our last goals to a certain extent, but we want to create new goals that are very ambitious to get to a better place here in the city and county of San Francisco regarding homelessness. And equity as the top of the agenda. And why is equity at the top of the agenda? Well, you know, constantly over the years, I've seen the conversations occur about who's homeless, who's getting housed, and why are the same people still on the street, and why do we continue to see huge disparities? And I'll specifically talk about the African American community, which is at about 5% of the population of San Francisco. And oftentimes people would talk about, well, 5% of the housing, or 5% of the this, and 5% of the that. But almost 40% of the people who are homeless in this city are African American. And so we have to start thinking of it in that way when we think about disparities and how we place people in housing. We have to make sure that we're really having an impact on people's lives, that they're getting the help and the support that they need. And this 5-year strategic plan, which focuses on equity, is going to be an incredible step forward. Shireen specifically talked about, you know, what it's going to do. But to get to a 50% reduction in unsheltered homelessness is ambitious over the next 5 years. And the work that I know Supervisor Dorsey and I are going to be doing together, hopefully you can get your colleagues on board. The work that we're going to be doing with the investments is one thing, but we have to make changes to housing, as I said. We have to get outside of our comfort zones and be bold and be brave. Places like this are what we should be talking about on a regular basis, because when we do get out of our own way, we're able to produce opportunities for people to be housed. I'm looking forward to significant change. I'm looking forward to really being aggressive with this 5-year plan. And the last thing I'll say is that oftentimes you don't want to hear excuses from your elected leaders. You want to see results. You expect them to deliver. We want this to happen instantly. And I will say that the sad reality in this city at times, and I see Bevan Duffy here with us as well, who used to be a supervisor and is now a part of the newly formed bureaucratic commission for homelessness and housing. I will say that, you know, the city over the years, we have, you know, put forth on the ballot as well as through the Board of Supervisors some well-intentioned policy changes. And unfortunately, in many instances, those policy changes have made it difficult for us to move as fast as I know people want us to when it comes to addressing the issues around housing and homelessness. My hope is that not only with this 5-year strategic plan and what we're going to propose, but also with what we're proposing in terms of housing changes based on the housing element, that you will see us do things faster. And let me just give you an example. During the pandemic, we declared a state of emergency. We moved mountains. We set up vaccination places and testing places, and we were able to move quickly. And people look at San Francisco. Now, in the midst of it, it was a lot of drama, but the fact is, working together, working with the experts, and getting out of our own ways with bureaucracy, San Francisco, one of the densest cities in the country, had one of the lowest death rates anywhere. And what does that tell you? That tells you that if we are able to make significant changes to our bureaucratic process, we can move in dealing with these challenges a lot faster. It's not just about money. It's about our process, and it's about obstruction, and it's about those challenges that we have to continue to put at the forefront of our thoughts in every single thing we do. That family, that individual, that person who's currently sleeping out on the streets, we are getting in the way of their ability to be in a place like City Gardens. And that is why I am going to work tirelessly and be unapologetic about the decisions I make to make sure that this 5-year plan is implemented, and the work that we do for the housing element is as well. So thank you all so much for your work and your advocacy and everything that you all are doing. And I can't wait to see the families who are living here, the kids who are hanging out in these places and having a good time and enjoying one another and feeling safe and secure in a comfortable, beautiful place to call home. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mayor Breed. So now I'd like to introduce Tremesia Garner. Tremesia is the COO at Swords to Plowshares and has been really involved, along with a lot of different people who worked with us on our Strategic Framework Advisory Committee, which has been the committee that has really helped bring in the provider perspective as we've worked on this plan. So Tremesia, I'm gonna turn it over to you.
Good morning. So I don't know how I'm following the mayor and Shireen, but I'm going to do my best and be brief. So I'm Tremesia, as Shireen noted, and I'm here as a representative and member of the Strategic Framework Advisory Committee. So we were a group of providers who, I don't know if the mayor remembers this, but pre-COVID, were highly complaining about our work with HSH and needing to have better communication and better partnership. And she supported us, as well as the department, and the Strategic Framework Advisory Committee was born. And so throughout that process, we worked with HSH to really look at how what they are doing is impacting the community and the providers as well, and making sure that the policies and things that are coming out from the department are really having the intended impact that it's meant to have on folks who are living on the streets, folks who are living in supportive housing, and people who are trying to really move out of supportive housing out into the community because they're ready to do so. So with that being said, this little community, as we call the SFAC, worked with the department as they set out on this strategic framework process and really making sure that the most important folks were included, people who are experiencing this system themselves. Because oftentimes you hear from providers, you might hear from elected officials, but the people who really matter are the folks who are coming through this system and needing the support and the resources. So we made sure as a committee that they were front and center to include that racial equity work because we know who's overrepresented in these numbers, and that needs to change. So the hard work is really what's upon us to put this plan into action. And the reality is it's gonna take all of us, not just the department, not just providers, but it's also gonna take the community to make this work. So I think really the call to action is for all of us to roll up our sleeves and do what's right and what's best for the folks who are out on the streets today, so that by the time this plan ends, we are no longer walking by people who are sleeping in doorways and trying to figure out what the hell is going on, because we are in such a resource city that this really should not be happening. So how do we as a community wrap our arms around everybody and make sure that folks have safe, affordable, and adequate housing to call home in every neighborhood, not just certain neighborhoods, right? So that is the plan, that is the goal. And I'm really excited to get to work because this is what it's all about. As mission-driven providers, this is the work and the time is now. And I'm really looking forward to partnering with everybody to make this a reality. So with that, I will say thank you and let's get started.
Thank you, Tremesia. That's a wonderful call to action, and I think that's a good segue into our tour of this building. So I know people in the back are going to be helping to move us into that portion of this morning's program. But this ends the speaking portion of this program. Thank you.